Next time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
In the background, you can see O'Brien, rolling his eyes in the back of his head, and he's just pained to listen to this entire conversation. And I don't know if he was there as wingman or if he just happened to be getting a bite to eat and Bashir was there. But he's obviously pained to listen to it, and having been through the battle at Wolf 359, I think O'Brien has a little different perspective on a final exam at Starfleet. So
yeah, true. And don't forget, before Wolf 359, he fought the Cardassians on the ground. He was
right.
Yeah, he's definitely seen more action than Dr. Bashir. Although he's seeing very little action now because he's married to Keiko.
To Keiko. Yes.
And now the conclusion.
The wormhole does bring them our way, doesn't it?
Everyone wants a piece of the new frontier.
And I'm sure you've already tried to sell it to a few.
You don't know what any of this is about, do you? You just don't get it.
Welcome to Audio Umox, your earful of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Welcome back. I guess I should say welcome back to us. I am Simon Van Gelder, joined as ever by
John Christopher.
And we are going to tell you that we have been on Risa for a while.
We were abducted.
Yes, and not in a good way. And actually, I had to deal with some asteroids.
All right.
But I'm feeling better. And actually, Is this a first for us, John?
It is.
It
is. We're recording in the same location, so we're not using a subspace transmission to communicate and record.
You know, those subspace rates, they're like roaming.
They are. They're horrible and tough to get a good signal.
Really tough to get a good signal. So I'm kind of glad that this is how it worked out. We're trying out a different setup with different mics, and hopefully the quality will be there. But anyway, enough of that. What are we doing today?
We are jumping into an episode called Dax. It was the 7th episode in Season 1 of Deep Space Nine.
Therefore, our 9th episode of Audio Umox.
And this was released... This was probably... It should have been the most basement nerd kind of episode ever because it was released on Valentine's Day in 1993. But it strangely wasn't. It was more of just a typical kind of plug-and-play episode.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
So before we get into the episode, I guess we should discuss.
Oh yes, the
Tranya.
The Tranya.
But first, the Tranya.
What are you drinking? What are you sampling for your Tranya?
Hydrogen hydroxide. It's actually a just regular water, filtered water, at a medium temperature. I don't want it to be too cold.
You didn't get the replicator to give you the extra cold
Or the lava,
Yeah. like Cisco apparently
Cisco
had.
had a couple episodes.
Yeah, I'm drinking the same thing actually. We're recording in the morning. We both coffeed up, and probably this show will be less. We'll just have to see if it's less amusing.
It
than
might
the
be a
other.
little less animated.
And by the way, I should just shout out to some friends on Twitter who've been in touch with us with not only with support but some critiques, and we'll certainly take those under advisement. And if you want to find us on the Twitter, we are at Umox Podcast on Twitter. And we do respond to everyone because there's so few people who talk to us. It would be pretty crappy if we didn't respond.
Yeah.
No, but we appreciate you. We've had some minor criticism about maybe some garden variety sexism in the show.
Yes. And maybe we should put that into a little bit of context.
Please.
So if you don't mind, if
Yeah.
you could speak to the strength of the female characters on the episode. I want to mention the fact that this show, at the time it aired, was in the early 90s. And so in that context, trying to get ratings, it was important to have a little bit of that just to draw the 18 to 25 male viewer that is so coveted.
Well, yeah, and speaking even more blatantly than this, just look at the sister show, Star Trek Voyager, my least favorite Star Trek, by the way. The ratings sank like a stone after the first season, and they needed to sex it up, the executives thought. So they got rid of Cass, and to her credit, Kate Mulgrew said, I'm not going to be a sex object. I'm going to be a captain of a ship, and I'm not going to wear this corset anymore. And I'm not. She did. She said, I'm not going to wear these boots, and I'm not going to wear these dumb hairstyles. I'm just going to be, legit. So they brought in Jerry Ryan, who, a fantastic, beautiful,
Yes.
let's just say it, a very attractive woman, and they crammed her into this bodysuit. It's come on. It's what's done in the business. So when we talk about DS9, you'll note that there really isn't the same thing going on in DS9. In fact, you have the second lead on the show, basically, is played by Nana Visitor.
Nana.
A beautiful woman who you will notice they glammed her up as the show goes on. She wore a tighter costume. She had kind of a sexier mien to her. Dax, what I love about Dax was, of course, Terry Farrell's a beautiful woman in her own way, but Dax was completely in charge of her sexuality,
Yes.
she could handle a Klingon, and she was her own person. So I guess my point is, you had two incredibly strong women characters. A freedom fighter and a Starfleet officer with all of this wisdom based on being a Trill, who also happened to be darn easy on the eyes. And
Yes.
see that
Quite
phrase
so.
that phrase alone could set some people off. Oh my God, you alluded to her looks. Well, yeah, of course I did. Yes. I also happen to think that Ben Sisko is a good looking man.
Absolutely. Very.
I think, well, I don't know if Miles was that great looking. He's a cute guy, I guess, and Bashir's all right.
Bashir's all right.
Kind of a skinny guy,
Yeah, a little slight.
A little slight, that's a nice word.
Yes.
But the point is, I think DS9, yes, they towed the line with what, is expected to try to get eyeballs, but I don't think... I think that they leavened that with the characters being so strong. So our point, when we talk about that, it's often kind of with a wink and a nod at 1993 and 1994 and the mores and the obvious ways that the networks programmed things and demanded things.
Right.
So I should point out, we're both married. We are both fathers of daughters, strong daughters, and married to very strong women who understand and respect that we definitely appreciate women. We respect women. We also admire the female form, and I make no apologies for that. So if we say something that you find on the offensive side in that regard, please understand it's usually with a wink and a nod at the show,
and certainly not our intent to offend it, and we
or objectify women.
Right,
you know?
we fully appreciate the strength of those characters. I think as much as anything, it is that wink and a nod where we say, okay, 300 or 400 years from now, is this still going to be going on?
Yeah, I mean, really.
And we find it, and that's a thread through all of Trek, the original series.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Next Generation.
Well, if you want to be offended, watch the original series.
Exactly.
Basically, no woman was allowed to wear anything less than or more than a miniskirt.
Right.
But that, anyway, I wanted to say that because we had a very thoughtful listener who took us to task on Twitter about that, and we won't call him out or anything. I'm sure he wouldn't mind because it's right there on Twitter. But you can look at our feed and you can see. Yeah. But anyway. So we have plenty of respect for that, and we have respect for our listeners enough to address that criticism. The other thing I think we should be clear on, this is a labor of love for us. We love this show, and John and I we love each other. We're good friends, and this is an opportunity for us to spend time together. We don't live in the same city. My family and his family are visiting together over this Independence Day long weekend, and we were excited at the opportunity to sit down for an hour or two and record a few episodes. And so we'll just get back to this episode, Dax, unless there's anything else.
No, that's good. We'll just dive in.
And thanks again for your comments, and we welcome them. And yeah, if we cross a line, we appreciate you telling us, and we also appreciate your reviews. We're looking for reviews. We've been told we've got reviews we don't see but one. At least last time I looked, but maybe you're just giving a starred review without any words, and that's helpful too. But just go to iTunes and leave a review if you would. And you can, of course, always say, these guys can be a little juvenile sometimes. That's perfectly fine because, yes, also we will revert to being the young men we were when the show first came on.
Exactly. Yes.
All right, now on to Dax, shall we?
So Dax, unfortunately, Miles and Cake Hole, speaking of juvenile, Miles and Cake Hole have to go back to, I believe it's Earth, for Cake Hole's mother is turning 100.
Something like that, yeah.
And and that seems like it's a very big deal, but then shortly afterwards, the judge is 100 years old.
Yeah,
and she's just spry and working.
I don't know if
really.
I mean, do they say that Kegel say that her mother's ill or infirm, or just that they're celebrating that she's alive for a century?
I would think it would have to be a pretty darn big deal
to go all the way from the frontier all the way back
just to celebrate someone's birthday.
That's a good point.
So
that's a good point. Although I think the average age of a human in this time period is around 140, 150. Dr. McCoy, Admiral McCoy, in the first episode of Next Generation. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you look when you go to 147 years old. I'm not sure.
It's pretty well worn.
And he kept calling Data boy. That was anyway. We digress, but he did. Boy, are you sure you're not a Vulcan? And he's like licking his lips and doing that old man stuff. And
got his dentures are all
it's like his space dentures.
Ill-fitting.
By the way, that's the thing too. If you look at when the Westmore family, who does incredible makeup, they did for Star Trek, and we'll have to talk a little bit more about makeup later. But one of my favorite episodes is The Inner Light with the Next Generation, the one where Picard gets zapped by a thing and he lives a whole life in like a half hour or something, and he plays the flute. Well, they age him in there. And there's a lot of memes out there you can look for this. It's like they show him when his oldest, when they caked on all of this makeup, which people on another podcast call meatloaf or the loaf. But then they show Patrick Stewart today as he is as an old man, and he looks really good and nothing like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's funny.
Maybe it was the dying star.
Perhaps that's perhaps the dying star made it.
It could affect you.
Yeah. All right.
That's what I blame my looks on.
Oh, you know that I'm going to blame my looks on the dying star as well.
There you go. Okay, so O'Brien is absent. He is absent this episode. So
That's a shame.
so we cut to Dax and Bashir. Bashir is hitting on her so hard, and she is completely oblivious. She's trying to solve some little problem, and so she's kind of talking to herself, and Bashir is he's putting the moves on her.
Julian's,
he's the hungry cat.
he is the hungry cat.
They get up to leave, and you see these people kind of in the shadows and start following, and they're following Dax. Bashir goes off, or he's sitting there pondering things, and determines that though not forbidden, though not requested to accompany Dax back to her place, he was not
Expressly forbidden.
Expressly
Right. She did not say, and don't talk to me again.
It's like, go stand over there now.
She did not do that.
Yeah, so he decides he's going to go chase her down.
Yeah.
And fortunate for her, he does, because apparently a couple of, 3 people come and accost her, knock her out, and start dragging her off the ship.
But he manages to put his jaw strategically in the way of their fist.
He does. He does get in.
He
hits the leader once, and then then gets thoroughly thrashed by this female Klystrom guard of some sort.
Right. Right.
So he gets knocked unconscious. They take and throw her comm badge on the ground there, and start rushing her back to their ship. So then Bashir comes to and decides he should call for help. He calls for help, and Ops goes about trying to figure out where they are, isolate them. But strangely, they have some unique technology that allows them to bypass virtually every security measure that exists. So they get to the ship, and but Cisco, at the last minute, is able to get the tractor beam working. They capture the ship, bring it back, and now we're introduced to the primary plot line.
Yep.
Which is that Dax, not Jadzia Dax, but her previous symbiont, Curzon Dax, is accused of treason and murder on Klystrom 4, and they want to extradite her to stand trial, and probably receive the death penalty.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Right.
And they take her back and they kill her. No.
Oh.
No. Hang on.
Oh.
Hang on. So Cisco, will have none of that, and there seems to be a slight loophole in that Deep Space Nine is not governed by the Federation.
Nope.
Indeed, it's governed by Bajoran law, and so there is no extradition treaty with Bajor and Klystrom. And which Klystrom is it? Klystrom 4. There you go. Deep Space Nine and Klystrom 4. So there being no extradition treaty, they're going to try and slow things down by having a hearing, an extradition hearing.
Right. Which begs the question, why didn't, or maybe it doesn't beg the question, but I have the question, why didn't they just come and present a summons or something, and so why did they have to come abduct her and be jerks right off the bat?
I think it was just because that would be the easiest thing to do, because there is no extradition treaty, and they had to present evidence based on a 30-year-old case for a now-deceased symbiont. It would become difficult.
Well, host. A host. Yeah,
Host.
Is he the
yes.
symbiont or the host?
He's the host.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry.
No problem.
So the Trill lives, the symbiont not so much.
No, the
So-
yeah.
So-
no, the host dies.
Host dies, symbiont lit. Sorry, I'm.
'Cause the Trill.
The Trill is the symbiont.
It's the space
Or
slug.
actually, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Right.
So both of them are
symbiont.
symbionts.
But they call the thing the symbiont, don't
And
they?
The Trill is the symbiont, and the
No.
host is the host.
Jadzia is a Trill.
No, Dax is the Trill.
That's what I said. Jadzia is the Trill.
I thought
Dax is the slug.
So Trill are the hosts. Okay,
That's what
I'm
I
sorry.
thought. Because they say to her, they always say she's a Trill.
Got it.
And
Okay, I'm
and
sorry.
the symbiote. Well, it's confusing.
So if you go back, I'm the one who does not have the encyclopedic knowledge.
well, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Dang, now you got me questioning. I don't know. I may be wrong here.
I believe you.
All right.
I believe you.
Well,
And I'll have to rewatch during the testimony. There's a interview with a young Randy Travis, and you didn't notice.
that's Randy Travis?
No, it's not. But he
Oh.
looks like him.
Oh.
Okay, so we get ahead of ourselves. So now we need a place for this trial. So it being this is a space station. It doesn't have a courtroom or any extra space.
But it has Odo, who would just as soon be judge, jury, and executioner.
Yes. So and so he resorts to blackmail and convinces Quark to allow them to use his bar. And I'm surprised he wasn't off to the side taking wagers on the outcome.
And that's so lame. A conference room, with
An office.
an office, the holodeck, even
Sure.
but a bar.
Yeah.
It's
Hollow suite there.
A hollow suite. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
you
just
could-
the point. Let's just call a spade here. They were just cheap and they wanted to use an existing set, and I get it, but really, all right, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So they have a space now, and they have to bring someone in from Bajor. Fly someone in from Bajor, and it turns out that it's
It's Kevin's wife from Kevin the Dowd's wife from TNG, who destroyed the Hoshnok.
oh yeah. I
It's
was
Rashawn. Yeah.
I was thinking it was.
Am I right? Or
It's Mrs. Sellner from Mrs. Doubtfire. So she's
Bully.
gone from working on that was
Anne Haney.
Anne Haney. Yeah.
Anne Haney,
Yeah.
yeah.
So she's Mrs. Sellner. That's from Mrs. Doubtfire, and she's decided that she's going to move from child custody cases to intergalactic extradition. And so,
And she's old,
there
too.
She is. She's 100 years old, but
Yeah.
a spry 100, unlike Cake Hole's mom,
who couldn't couldn't be bothered to get in a runabout and just come out there and see them once in a while. Although
Yeah.
Miles was probably thinking his lucky stars.
God.
Can you imagine Keiko's mother? Jeez.
Yeah,
You know what? I don't care how sexist it sounds. Keiko is pretty gripey all the time. I mean, she's just
is.
not a happy person.
I blame the writing.
I do as well. I don't blame the actress.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Mrs. Sellner comes out. She has her little wooden ball. She's clapping around and
Right.
and so most of the episode is really this back and forth about whether hosts and symbionts are responsible for the actions and activities of their former iterations.
Right.
Whether who could be held responsible, can they be separated or not separated, and that's where Randy Travis came in and
Right, and I should add that that Mrs. Sellner plays completely to the trope of the cranky judge. Every show you're on,
Yes.
Law and Order, Boston Legal, whatever, the judges are almost always in a bad mood.
I'm going to hold you in contempt.
I gave you some latitude, and now I'm going to give you some attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That gets old. I've been in court, and actually, I've never seen a cranky judge. They've usually been exceedingly polite.
Yeah, usually very professional.
They're very
and-
professional. They're not
Yeah.
mad, and they're not like counselor, all blah blah. It's all very procedural, but then again, it's boring too.
Yes, it doesn't make for good.
No,
Television.
a polite judge who's like thanking everybody for being there.
This is great. Thank you for
Would
taking
all like
time
some
out of your
coffee?
schedule.
Yeah, like when you're in jury duty, it's like we really appreciate you. Yeah. And you, sir, the murderer, thank you for being here and being so on good behavior and not murdering anyone. Yeah. Anyway.
So while this trial's going on,
Water went to my head, man.
I don't want to go, through all the detail.
Must we? Must we really? Because I really couldn't bear it.
I was trying to get something deeper. Is there something that humans can take from this? Is there some deeper topic or something? It's like, okay, well, maybe, should we prosecute mature people for the crimes they committed when they were kids or something because they're now different people? It's such a stretch. I don't think we could even go there.
And I don't even think this was very dramatic.
No,
it was
not
boring.
particularly.
Can I just say it? This is a boring episode.
It was. So then Odo has to go and try and solve the crime. So he heads to Klystrom to and may I say,
yeah,
okay, the makeup there on the Klystromiums.
Oh, jeez, you were going to go there.
It's what did you call it? The
loaf?
Loaf.
Well, we don't call it that, but that's on another show. Yeah.
Yeah. So on these, it's like the makeup artist thought, okay, last week I did really well. How can I make someone look even more like, a burn victim? or how can I incorporate someone's undercarriage flesh onto the side of their face? I mean, it's...
They have a challenge. Let's be fair. They have a challenge. They have budgetary and all that, but there's also... one of the things about the jokes about Trek, too, is like, all the aliens just look like humans with something glued to their face. Well, okay, one, it's budgetary. Two, they don't want aliens that are so...
Alien.
They want you to be able to identify with them enough to where the story can progress without you stopping every 5 seconds and going, ugh, Right. Yeah. Because the odds are anything, an alien is going to be so radically different than a humanoid, it's not even funny. In real life, that's the odds I've read and all that. Carl Sagan said that. Stephen Hawking has said that. Neil deGrasse Tyson has said that. But there's also a trope about Star Trek. It's kind of a unwritten rule, I think, too. It's just that, or I think it's been hinted at strongly in various incarnations of the show, is that perhaps at least the quadrant of the galaxy that all this takes place in, and we're talking all the races, were probably seeded from a common ancestor, and that's why they're humanoid and there are subtle differences, but they're and cultural differences. So I guess what we're doing here is what's called head canon, where we're just kind of creating our own Star Trek canon from our heads, but to make the story go through. But looking like a taint on your face is.
Yes,
unfortunate.
That's hard. That's
it's unfortunate.
Difficult.
I mean, and how do you act with somebody who's
I guess you're not looking at it, but for the people that are looking at it,
well, it's like I think I figured out too why that guy Jahiel was always looking past.
Because he didn't want to stare at the makeup.
Well, I think no. Actually, I think that he's looking past them. I think the other actors are like, "You look so ridiculous. Don't look at me because I can't keep it straight." I think we've solved the mystery of Jahiel. I think we just solved it.
It is
that guy.
Yeah, that's
the 1,000-yard stare past you, and he's like in a trance. So as an actor, so he doesn't laugh.
Yeah. So the other thing on a semi-serious note, is that the study of Star Trek is a study in humanity. Mm-hmm. It uses characters from all over the universe, but it's intended to be a study of humanity.
Yeah.
So if you departed too far from it, they would probably get an Emmy for makeup, but if you lose your audience and don't tell your story, then you're lost.
I think that's what I was saying about being identifiable. The audience, if you can't identify with the you know,
The
if you're just
Yeah.
a bowl of goo.
Yes.
You know.
Or those flashing dots on the Next Generation. Remember those guys? Yeah.
Or an exocomp. Say that.
So
we're done, right? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Not quite yet.
all right.
So Odo is down on Klystrom.
We all are down on Klystrom.
Yeah. So the funny part for me was when he calls back, and it looks like he's, this is obviously before smartphones, and it looks like he's taking a selfie.
Yes.
Like he's holding the. And I was just waiting for his him to morph into a duck face.
Did he? Nice.
And then he turns sideways when he finishes the call, even though the call area is.
Wait, what? Wait, I forget. Was his makeup improved yet on this, or is it still?
I don't know what you mean by improved. To be perfectly honest,
he looks horrible in the first 8 or 10 episodes.
He's very pale and pasty in this episode.
But does he have kind of the pitted look on his cheeks in this one, like he did in? They were testing different makeups for the first 8 or 10 episodes.
His face looked a little more two-dimensional to me.
Two-dimensional face.
Yes, yeah. So he meets with apparently the victim of the crime's wife.
Widow.
Right. Yes.
Is that Fionnella Flanagan or whatever her name is that plays?
You got me.
She was in one of our all-time favorite movies, my brother.
Oh, yeah?
Waking Ned.
Ah, okay.
Remember?
Okay.
If you've not seen Waking Ned, by the way, we are thinking sincerely about doing a Waking Ned episode down the road. Waking Ned Divine, if you've not seen it.
Great. It's a great show.
It's going to be John and I when we're old men.
Yes, very old.
Yeah, on a motorbike.
Riding naked on motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was that her?
I'm endeavoring at this point.
I believe she's an Irish actress, but anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So
she's got some,
again, more boring kind of back and forth dialogue.
It's tedious as hell.
It's all about how the heroes of war, you have this revisionist history, and even though this dude was, he was this great hero, and there's statues and banquets and in his honor, he was still an asshole, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And so throughout the episode, there's this back and forth. Come to find out, this widow and Dax had
Curzon
Dax, so the previous iteration had relations.
They had done some business,
and then to give away the finale, the courtroom finale, there was no way that Dax could have participated. There's no way that Dax could have made that transmission because he was in bed with the widow and at the time of the transmission.
Right.
Which means someone else did it. But by the way, fun fact: the guy who was trying to capture Dax, bring her back, and hold her on trial, is the child of the general that was killed, and this woman. And so
so the transmission, there was a transmission on behalf of Curzon.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, there was.
Yeah, and she's just coming out and saying it was.
Yeah,
and that's the name of that tune.
So the given that evidence, Mrs. Sellner decides.
Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, yeah. Show's over, go get some more evidence and go home, leave us alone. And, of course, this guy's humiliated because he now has found out that his mom was having an affair. And then cut to a scene of Dax and the lady walking on the promenade. and they reveal some stuff that wasn't revealed beyond, which is that the general is the one who made the transmission, and he was trying to sell his country out.
Yeah.
Got killed in the process, and then became a hero and a rallying cry for the rebellion.
There are actual historical, real life historical examples of such things too. Sometimes the story is more beneficial to a society than the truth.
Yeah.
That may be all we can get out of this one, by the way.
Yeah. Yes. So that's basically it. I think that's.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll be honest. It left me cold. I was bored. I've watched this one 4 or 5 times over the past 20-something years. I watched it twice, I think, in prep for this show, and I had so little to take from it of interest. And that's the thing. I think it's a good vehicle for Terry Farrell for Dax, but yeah, I mean, we don't get a lot of Kira.
No, I mean there were a couple of nice flashes of her strength and her continuing anger against the Cardassians.
Yes, which I love
because she early in the episode, it was obvious to her that the technology that they used to try and escape with Dax from DS9 was technology that they most likely got from the Cardassians because of their previous alliance with the Cardassian Empire.
Right.
So she was pretty angry about that, and so that interchange I found as good as you can find on this episode.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't know. Did you see any? As we often do, the Deep Sex Nine portions. Was there something sexy or romantic or anything that caught your eye on this one?
No,
not even
really.
Not even the hint of the relationship of Curzon with the lady.
Yeah, you didn't see a
glint
in an eye or anything like that.
They played it really cool.
Bashir and Dax. Bashir was just
puppy dog.
Yeah,
and embarrassing.
Embarrassing. Yeah,
himself.
And that was it. There was nothing else. Odo, I don't think Odo, got the hookup on while he was traveling or anything
down
like
on
that.
Getting the Klystrom.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and give this, out of 5 possible bars of gold pressed latinum, I'm going to give this one a solid 2 bars of latinum.
Yeah.
No strips. 2 bars.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Who wrote this one anyway? Teleplay was by D.C. Fontana and Peter Allen Fields. Peter Allen Fields, I believe, wrote The Inner Light. Now, D.C. Fontana was from the original series of Star Trek. She was a big deal. Dorothy Fontana.
Yeah. She do any L.A. Law episodes?
Probably. I don't know.
That was like a L.A. Law throwaway that they put in space. Maybe.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. Let me just make sure there's nothing in here I missed that cast list here.
I looked through a couple of the most popular quotes from there. There was not much.
Well,
of
Ira
anything.
Stephen Bear, who became the true leader of this show later, he said that this was a, quote, small episode, yet a very well done one that stands up to anything that was done first season to an extent. It was one of Sisko's best shows. I think it showed him in a very good light. I agree. Yeah. I liked the Odo stuff, and I thought the ending where the wife comes back was touching. Everybody. I'm reading. We were reading some notes on Memory Alpha about this, and everybody. I just didn't like it, and that's okay.
I did like. Now that refreshes, hence the name Memory Alpha, right? Refreshes my memory. I did like how Commander Sisko was really fighting for Dax, for the memory of Curzon,
his dear friend,
and their relationship, and really went above and beyond to try and slow this down so that he could, not just let Jadzia go become be martyred.
Yeah, I you're right, and I'm probably being a little tough on this one, but it's just, I don't know. I think for me, the killer of this one was the pacing. It was, to me, it was deadly slow and dull, and
yes.
Anyway, so
there we go.
That's Dax for you.
Yes.
What's coming up next on the big shoe?
I knew you were going to ask that. Let's
Yeah.
see what we've got.
Yeah, it would be I Am the Passenger. That's a song by Chrissy Hynde. Passenger. What's that? The passenger, an alien criminal attempting to prolong his life, hides his consciousness inside the mind of a station crew member.
Dum dum dum.
Okay. Well. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember this one?
I do. I've watched it recently.
Okay.
And
I have not watched it recently.
okay. Anyway, interesting episode. Lots of fun. You have some intrigue and mystery, consciousnesses moving around, so to speak.
I'm all for consciousness moving around.
Yeah.
Well, remember, if you like the show or don't like the show and you want to leave a review on iTunes, it's pretty simple. You go to Audio Umac's podcast on iTunes, and it says reviews. You click on that. You hit some stars. We prefer 3 to 5. And you can write just a sentence or so. I like this show because, even if they are a little bit this, I still like that. That's a review. That's all it is. The more we get of those, the more we get seen, the bigger the shot is that we'll continue to do this. It is our goal to do all 7 seasons, all 100 and, was it 76 or episodes? 173 episodes. But it is a labor of love, and it's not cheap, and it takes a lot of time. So encouragement is welcome. Thank you so much. So if there's nothing else.
I'm John Christopher.
I am Simon Van Gelder.
Thank you for listening to Audio Umax.
The docking ring is now closed.
You do it right to find the best deals around. Lowe's is here to help with savings throughout the store. Shop Cobalt Tool Days and take advantage of great values on tools and accessories. Like $70 off a Cobalt 24-volt max variable speed brushless cordless impact driver, now $99. Thinking of updating your bath? Save during our kitchen and bath event with up to 40% off select bath essentials, including vanities, faucets, shower heads, and more. Whatever's on your to-do list, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 7/17 U.S. only. Pros do it right to take their business to the next level by relying on trusted brands to get the job done. Lowe's is here to help and help you save. For your next stain job, get a gallon of Valspar One Coat Transparent Stain Plus Sealer starting at $35.98. And we now offer the Little Giant King Combo Ladder, the world's first step, extension, and leaning ladder, giving you the flexibility to do just about any job for only $159. For trusted brands that make the job easier, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's, U.S. only.